Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals. Let me get a sip of my water first. My beautiful radio voice going, and let's talk about this. Let's talk about Bruce Lee. Someone saw me in my clip doing good mornings this week. They chimed in and said, this is a dangerous exercise. You know, Bruce Lee hurt his back doing this. It's like, someone says that, I've addressed this years ago. Bruce Lee hurt his back doing like 200 pounds on a good morning. Well, first of all, for me as a strength coach, I'm going to say, damn, was he a 100-pound girl? I mean, I know who Bruce Lee is, but to me this is ridiculous because I've done 550 pounds on a good morning before on camera. My back didn't hurt. When I was at my strongest at him, you guys have seen me do something like 380 pounds for sets of 10. My back didn't hurt, and I did that in my 40s. I've known guys, my friend Clint, has done 700 pounds on a good morning. I saw Burley Hawk do 800 pounds on a good morning. If this exercise is so dangerous that some person got hurt with 200 pounds on it, why are all of us doing 500, 600, 700, 800 with no injuries? Maybe this exercise isn't that dangerous. Maybe performing an exercise badly or overuse injuries are dangerous. Okay, and here's the thing that people have to remember with Bruce Lee. And I'm going to say this politely because I know many people admire Bruce Lee. They look up to him. I loved his movies and stuff when I was a kid. I loved his work. I mean, everybody did. Okay, it's Bruce Lee, guys. I get it. All right. So maybe he's not someone you should be listening to when it comes to weightlifting. Maybe he had no idea what he was doing in the weight room. How about that as a response? Rather than demonize a fantastic exercise that has helped build tons of extremely strong athletes, that has built tons of strong and well-developed posterior chains in bodybuilders, has helped power lifters, fighters, all these people, and is a phenomenal exercise when used correctly. Instead of demonizing this exercise, why don't we look at it and say, hey, maybe the person who got hurt doing it was such a lightweight didn't know how to train. Is that a possibility? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Have anyone looked at Bruce Lee's routines? Like, has anybody looked at that? And keep in mind, that was a different era. People didn't know as much, and he experimented and did his own thing. Plus, he was an extreme person who took everything to extremes. He trained all the time, kept his body weight really light and lean. That's okay. It's already easier to get hurt, by the way. If you stay that lean and at that low of a body weight, and train hard all the time, your injury risks go up, by the way. People may not be aware of that. It's well understood. Overuse injuries go way, way, way up. Okay? So you have that. But has anyone looked at any of Bruce Lee's routines in the gym? If you look at those and thought, you know, that looks really well thought out and like a good idea. Using modern knowledge that we have of exercise science and strength and conditioning, has one person, any of you out there who know anything about training or have got to any reasonably high level in terms of muscular development, strength, or as a coach or a trainer, looked at Bruce Lee's routines and said, yeah, that looks really great. That looks fantastic. Or do you look at it and go, this looks like something a high school kid put together? Because when I look at it, that's what I see. And again, that's not intended as a knock at Bruce Lee because lifting was not his expertise. It was something he picked up on the side, and he just experimented in his own things, exactly like a high school kid does who has no supervision. He's devoted his life to studying other pursuits, martial arts, different philosophies. He didn't devote his life to studying strength and conditioning in the weight room. It was not an area that he spent huge amounts of time researching and trying to find the best experts in the world and the best coaches. And keep in mind, we didn't have as much knowledge back then. There was not as much available to even research. He didn't devote his life to that. So it looked like just something a teenager threw together. Way too much volume, exercises in weird orders, weird rotations, things like you wouldn't do as a normal workout. and it was ridiculous amounts of volume. But he did tons of conditioning and fighting. So do you see where we're going with this? That the problem was the execution. Problem was the execution. And before people say, what made him a great martial art? Did it? I think Bruce Lee was a great martial artist for his time because he was an outside-the-box thinker. He started at an extremely young age, probably had an inherent talent for it. And he was always experimenting and trying new stuff. Okay? But by modern standards, would he be considered a great anymore? No. Talk to people who train real MMA fighters and competitive fighters, and they're like, I mean, this stuff is cool and interesting, and it was cool for the time, but they're like, fighting today is different. Like, he wouldn't be competitive. So we can't stand there and say that his weight training did that when it was his approach. It was his training in terms of martial arts that got him where he was in terms of martial arts. It was being a creative thinker. Because that's where he excelled, right? I mean, when you look at everything that he did, he was someone who was very innovative, very outside the box, non-traditional thinking. I want to find different ways to do things. Okay, I don't want to be limited in my mindset. Again, outside the box thinking. And he was good at it. And I mean, we all enjoyed it. He put a lot of martial arts back on the table into the mainstream in America, in the West, right? So he was an important cultural influence. But the issue here is that he didn't know how to train as far as the lifting goes. And because we don't have footage of him lifting, how do we know he wasn't just using atrocious form on everything? We don't know that he used good form. We know he had overuse issues, bad programming, everything else, looking at the programming. And when you think about the overuse combined with all the ridiculous amounts of conditioning and martial arts he did every day, okay, his injury risks are going to go up. They're going to go up and up and up and up. This is probably an overuse and bad form issue. It's not the good morning that's dangerous. And again, particularly when you find out it was something like, it was like 200 pounds that he hurt himself with. Okay, that's not a heavy weight. That is not a heavy weight on a good morning. Again, context, I've done 550 pounds for 1 rep on camera with no pain and injuries. There's your context. So here's the thing, guys. Stop using these figures in other areas outside of lifting to determine what's good and bad lifting and what's programming. Go with known programming. Go with stuff that we know by people who specialize in this stuff and understand it. And when you see something go wrong with some athlete who might be doing something incorrectly, don't blame the exercise. Because again, I see plenty of serious pro athletes who their weight room training and form leave much to be desired. They're good at their sport because they still strength train and got bigger and jacked in the gym while being extremely gifted and extremely dedicated in their primary pursuit, whichever sport that is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.